Hello everyone, and good afternoon. I'm U.S. Ambassador to Finland, Doug Hickey. I want to thank you, Alexandra, and the members of AmCham and representatives of Nordea for the opportunity to discuss transatlantic trade and relations between our two countries. Finland's visibility in the United States has risen dramatically during Finland's NATO accession, providing American audiences a much better view of all that the country has to offer. When it comes to our bilateral relationship, it's never been better, not only in terms of security cooperation, but also in the business and economic realm. Finland is an important partner for the United States, including cooperation in quantum, secure wireless networks and communications, and green technologies. In terms of investment opportunities, I want to share some exciting news about an upcoming event. The Embassy's commercial section promotes foreign direct investment into the United States through Select USA program. This year, the Select USA Summit will be held from June 23rd to the 26th in Maryland, just outside of Washington, D.C. I will personally lead a delegation of Finnish companies to participate. Of course, you can reach out to our embassy. Our doors are always open to you. Let's continue to work together for a better future for the United States and Finland. Thank you.
For sending your warm regards and a warm welcome to everyone to AmCham's flagship event, Transatlantic Opportunity. Can I get a round of applause, please? Yes. I'm so proud of the work that at AmCham Finland we're able to do with the U.S. Embassy in terms of helping Finnish companies enter and succeed in the U.S. market. So I'm Alexandra Pasternak-Jackson. I'm the CEO of AmCham Finland. And today has been an incredibly important and exciting day for the transatlantic business community in Finland. At our annual general meeting held less than an hour ago, AmCham elected its new board of directors right behind me. So I'd like to thank our board members who served in the previous term and warmly congratulate and welcome the board of directors 2024 to 2026. If you are a board member who has just joined our board, please do rise so everyone can see who you are, where you are. A round of applause for our new board. Fantastic. With the exciting new the exciting new board of directors, this next 2 years for AmCham, we have many new initiatives that we're launching to help our community thrive. For instance, on June 7th, we're officially launching our Harvard Business Review Press Learning Sessions, where we, with our visionary members, are really nurturing the next generation of leaders. And our visionary members really lead our community, and we're really appreciative of the companies behind me here who believe in the transatlantic relationship. Both our visionaries and our insiders will also get a little bit of help on the transatlantic front when we launch our new Strategy Directors Network, which we are launching on June 7th. And our Strategy Directors Network is modeled off our incredibly important Country Managers Network and is for the leaders inside your companies who focus on strategy, on resilience, on scenario planning. So stay tuned for that. And that's for June. But for today, we are here to talk about the Finnish-U.S. economic relationship, and that is what we're diving into, the potential that lies ahead. It's no coincidence that this flagship event is called Transatlantic Opportunity, because at AmCham, we continue to see opportunities for growth and development in the U.S.-Finnish partnership at all stages of growth and development for companies. So whether you're a small, medium, or large multinational, there's opportunities there for you today. And actually, did you know that European companies that receive both US and European investment grow faster than the scale-ups who only receive one or another? And that piece of data and more you'll find in the U.S.-Finland Economic Deep Dive 2024 that we are launching today, right now, at this event. So today, let's see, yeah, right here. So today we're at Nordea's beautiful old bank building. It's absolutely stunning. Thank you to everyone who joined us in person. And when we started this report, we wanted to work with a company that really understands opportunities and really understands that companies need information, data, and support in getting there. So we're very proud to partner with Nordea today and to be hosted by their team. Thank you guys so much. You're such a committed partner to this work. And you've actually contributed to this report since its first edition. In a short while, we'll be hearing from Juho Kostiainen, who's their senior economist and who's contributed and written for this report since we started it. We'll also be hearing from Ville Kaunisto, as well as 4 distinguished and energetic transatlantic leaders. Now, AmCham Finland has sponsored the big Transatlantic Economy Report. And when I say big, I wish I had a copy right now, but it is over 200 pages of data on the relationship between the US and all of Europe. And we've sponsored that since 2018 because we believe that decision makers should have data-driven and data to drive their decisions and put their storytelling on the right path. We want our members to have the right information to make smart decisions. But because we know that all of our members, you guys are busy driving your businesses, you're taking advantage of opportunities that are out there, you might not have time to take a look at that 220-page report. So at AmCham, we've distilled that all down into the Reader's Digest, which is a quick look at all the things that we know matter to Finnish and American decision makers and that are relevant in Finland. So to kick us off on the right track and to give some more flavor for the content that you will see in this report, I want a very warm welcome for AmCham's policy lead, Elsa Korpi.
Thank you so much, Alexandra. And shall we deep dive right in? Come on, I can't not make that pun. So first and foremost, our report this year shows that the US was once again Finland's largest export partner. So despite everything that is going on in the Finnish economy, our partnership remains strong. And that's something to be excited about. We'll hear more about what that export partnership entails from Juho Kostiainen in just a moment. On a thematic level, though, the report underlines some of Finland's strengths and consequently some of the major opportunity areas for the Transatlantic Partnership. The availability of green energy, for instance, has made Finland an attractive potential investment destination for green investments. And we are proud to say that 5 of the top 10 purchases of renewable energy are in the AmCham Finland membership, some of them potentially in this room today. Finland also continues to be a front-runner in the use of advanced technologies transatlantically. Opportunities abound in the digital sphere, and as the report shows, the digital economy will only grow in importance. The challenge this data should present to us is how to translate Finland's ranking in things like infrastructure and training into more robust commercial successes. Fortunately, the outlook transatlantically is also good for early-stage companies. As Alexandra already alluded to, on average, companies with transatlantic investments reached growth stage faster than those that did not. We are stronger when we do things together. And it also shows that the work that has been put in by civil servants, by the business community, by researchers, is paying dividends even to those companies that are not already invested heavily. And finally, it is clear that Finland is in dire need of investments into R&D. Private sector investments, as well as the Finnish technology industry, will be central to that goal. And we at AmCham have a focused eye on how to make Finland a more conducive environment to innovation, as well as FDI. AmCham and rooms like this are indeed a great place to have conversations about how to make that happen, as 11 of the top 20 transatlantic R&D spenders are in our membership. 11 of the top 20 transatlantic R&D spenders are in the AmCham Finland membership. You're in really great company. this is only an overview. There is lots to get excited about, lots to learn in the report that you have here at your seats, and our audience at home can find that under the QR code in this presentation, as well as on amcham.fi. Please enjoy, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Elsa. And as Elsa mentioned, it's really one of my favorite times of year is when we get the raw data for this report, because that's when you start getting really excited about the power of the network that is in this community when you think about some of those facts that she pointed out. And when you start reading into the Reader's Digest, which is very much a labor of love from Elsa's perspective. We worked on it very closely together. You'll also find those footnotes at the bottom. So if you do want to reference the larger report to get more context, we do definitely encourage you to do that. So thank you, Elsa. As we know, the numbers are important. The facts are important, but so is the story that we tell to Americans who are coming here, to our fellow Finns, and to the world about what is happening in this important relationship. So it is a great pleasure to introduce my next speaker, who has hit the ground running, making sure that our transatlantic bonds are closer than ever. He's a member of Parliament and chair of the U.S.-Finnish Parliamentary Friendship Group. Without further ado, Ville Kaunisto, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander, and thank you, friends, that I get to be here and talk to you. Alexander told me that she will have an appropriate picture of me if I don't have any slides, and I took the risk. I don't have slides, and that's a good job, as always, as always. For me, the main thing is the word future up there. That's the thing we should be concerned about. That's the thing we should be looking at. And I am here to give you the political view on how things are seen in a Parliament of Finland, and how we see the trade and the business and the cooperation that we need to enhance even more and more in the future. The main thing in many cases is to create growth, and maybe say the thing that politicians shouldn't say, make money. But then when we get deeper on those ideas and we look at the cooperation, the transatlantic cooperation, there's way more than that. There are the values that we can make better and we can live with. Human rights, democratic values, rule of law, security, all these things are the main things and themes and values that we should live up to. And all this doesn't mean that we cannot make growth and we can't make money at the same time. We can combine these, and these are the reasons why I personally think that the Finland-U.S. relationship needs to get even stronger, because we can actually make all these things happen together. But the political situation, how I want to describe it right now is, I feel like we are driving on a highway going 80 miles an hour. And what happens when you're driving fast on a highway? Your vision kind of focuses in one direction. You see what's in front of you, and what's in front of us right now is all about hard security. It's about bombs, it's about guns, it's about tanks. That's the political view right now. That's everything that's there, and there's a reason for it. There's a reason why everything is about hard security right now. But everything on the side that's kind of blurred, that's the thing we should be focusing on. And that's the thing I would like to talk to you about, because this is the area on the side that we are not looking right now that is changing so rapidly, going from pro-business to pro-business from what we would like to have is pro-market. And these changes are actually changing the whole view how we see security. Because it cannot be just about fighting wars. It needs to be a strong Finland by the border that is actually part of this business and trade world that we can live in. We can create better. And that's why we are looking right now in a political landscape, we are looking at Russia's future and we're looking at China. And there's absolutely no good signs in the air right now. So then it's obvious the more we look west, the stronger we will get. And we've been a NATO country for 1 year now. So I'm saying this is the time. This is the time the US-Finland relationship should be even stronger and even better. I look at it, this is the second year coming that US is the biggest trade partner with Finland. It's not something that, you know, this is not just political nice talk that we should do this, we should do that. We are on the path. We are actually going there right now. So there's no reason for us to slow down. Finland can offer so many things with great level of expertise in telecommunications, pharmaceuticals, clean energy. And US has all the possibilities, the US companies, to invest, to prosper in Finland, and the other way around. This is what political landscape is looking right now. This is what we need to get stronger, to create security. And the main thing I kind of feel like we should talk about is leverage. And since we are living in the era of new technological breakthroughs like AI, I used AI to explain me what leverage actually is. I mean, we all know what it is. But a little bit more, what can it tell us? And yeah, okay. Leverage means that you put a little bit of money in and you create a system where everybody benefits and you make more money out of it. But when we look at the social aspect of leverage, this is it. It's a small group of people doing something big. And that is exactly what we need. We need the leverage to be stronger and to create security. And I mean, yeah, you cannot, I'm an old basketball player, and you cannot compare basketball with what's going on in the world. I mean, it's you can't compare sports and the geopolitics and geoeconomics that's right now really in a storm. But I'm a politician, so I guess I can do it. And when you look at a sporting teams or sport teams or athletes, you see the ones that are winning gold or winning trophies, winning medals. But you rarely see, or people rarely talk about the work that it's done before that. They just see that, okay, these guys are doing great, it's easy for them. Yeah, it's easy for them because they've done the work early. And what you see even less is especially in teams, how many crises there are on that path to success. And yes, like I said, I mean, the crises in the world are way bigger than you would ever imagine in sports. Can't compare. But like I said, I will. The crises are there every day in sports. And the stronger friends and allies you have in that team, the stronger you're going to come out of that crisis. And in my view, this moment right now in the world, this is the moment when you actually get those friends, those allies, and you go get the trophy and you get the wins, because now it's the moment to build it. And to me, that's maybe the strongest thing I can give you today as a politician, is to understand the momentum is right now and is today and is with the leverage that we can bring from this group we have here today. And I will end my speech without slides with the little notion from the U.S. Finnish Parliamentary group. I hope that you understand that even though, like I said, we are moving from pro-market to pro-business and life is changing a lot, politics are changing. At the end of the day, I personally believe that politicians and businesses are on the same side of the table. And we have this group in Finland that is willing to strengthen the Transatlantic cooperation. Use it. We are there to help you guys. As a chair, I know that we have plenty of great MPs in our group. It's the biggest group we have in the Finnish Parliament. It should tell you something. Use us, don't be shy, and let's make this connection and this alliance and our friendship between Finland and US even stronger. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ville. There were so many things in your words that really resonated with me. Staying focused, keeping moving forward, the fact that this is a team sport. We're doing the work. We need to do the work. And I was reflecting, because we just had our Q2 board meeting, that is exactly what this community is doing, is we are doing the work to use that momentum. And you can bet, Ville, that I and the AmCham team will be in your office taking you up on that offer to utilize this friendship group. So thank you very much for that. Next, to really dive into, I don't know how many puns we can start doing with this deep dive, but I'm going to keep going. I'm just going to push through. You guys, I can feel the warmth in the room. Next, we are going to deep dive with our senior economist from Nordea, Juho Kostiainen. We've really appreciated you working on these facts, pulling out this analysis. When he sends over those key talking points, there's like a thrill that runs up Elsa's and my spine when we're reading through what's going on. So this year, your analysis looked at more factors than ever, and we're really excited to have you here. Please come tell us a little bit more about what's happening in this US-Finnish economic relationship. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alexandra and Ville, for nice words. As I'm an economist, I cannot speak without graphs, so it's not natural for me. So I have few slides, but only 3. So normally I do have more than 10, but I will save you today. So the topic is economic relationship between US and Finland. And as Alexandra mentioned, I've been looking into this for a couple of years now, mainly when producing this report. And it's been actually interesting over this couple of years to see the development, how it has evolved, even though we have had hard times, especially in Finland, but also in the US, and we see that the cooperation have deepened year by year. But there are also bad news, so it's not all about the fanfares today, but I have the solution in the end. So don't worry if this might sound a little bit gloomy in the beginning. So if we start how the economy is looking right now, it's looking actually quite different if you look at in the US perspective or Finnish perspective. All those who live in Finland, you know that we have a, least to say, difficult economy situation at the moment. And if you look at a little bit the longer horizon, you look at from 2008 backwards, Finland was growing along the US, the same growth rate more or less 10 years. But then after that, last 15 years, we have dropped from the pace of US. And I will come to the reasons which are multiple later on. But if we look at the very recent development, last year, Finnish economy contracted 1%, whereas US economy grew by 2.5%. So we see that the gap is widening again, which is not good news for Finland in one sense. The good news is that our biggest trading partner is growing, which means that at some point Finland will get the benefit of that as well. What have turned down the Finnish economy? One thing is, of course, 2 years ago, energy crisis put the inflation up. What happens all in Europe? The purchasing power of the households collapsed. Same times we saw interest rate to go up. We know 98% of Finns have a floating rate mortgages. So basically all who have a loan for the house, the interest expenditure went up quite significantly. So we went from the 0 to 4%, which is again away from other consumption. So this has hit the hard, especially the Finnish economy. Well, hopefully later this year the interest rate start going down again. We expect this to happen in June, which should then give us some relief for the Finnish household and then to boost the domestic demand. But there are also good signs from the global economy, as in the US, but more general, that the export market is starting to open again. And we hope this will also help Finland to recover from this downturn. Let's move on. So, despite the fact that the Finnish economy have not doing well, we actually see that the export to US have grown, despite the fact that the total export have declined. So if we look at 10 years back, what has happened to the Finnish export markets? So where we exporting our goods? So if we look at the 10 years back, we see US was less than 7%. Now it's here 13%, slightly bigger than Sweden, which is our neighbor. Well, this probably won't be the case every year. It changes year to year, depending where we export our 2 billion euro cruise ship each year. It varies, but still US will be at least second, even without this one ticket type item. What's the other thing has happened? Russia was almost 10% of our export 10 years ago. Then after invasion of Crimea, it was cut in the half, and the rest of the half is now gone. Which we are happy to take this hit, but it's fair to say that it has also contributed to the Finnish economy negatively over the last few years. So even the US have taking the bigger share, but still it's the transformation from the east to west is not that fast that it will come or can happen overnight. Then maybe to point out China here, which is more or less same size that it used to be 10 years ago. So our cooperation with China have not grown, but neither it have declined significantly. Then I promised some reasons why we have had this quite gloomy growth for last 15 years overall. And one reason comes here. So we see that Finns are not putting money on the research and development as they used to be. There's one big factor, one particular company, Nokia, is not investing as much as it used to be before. And we haven't had any other big companies to put the research effort in Finland in the same extent. Actually, Nokia is still the biggest R&D investor in Finland, even though they have scaled down the operations quite significantly since 2008 and so on. So, but the good news is that the small companies and medium-sized companies, they are investing in the R&D as much as in the US or other top countries in this area. But we're just lacking of these big ticket items. We don't have big pharmaceutical companies as Denmark, neither we have these big tech companies as in US who are putting enormous amount of money in the research. But we have the small ones, and then, as we know, at some point the small ones will be the big ones. So this will help. And also, as Ville mentioned there, the growth is important for the politicians as well, and the Parliament has taken action to put more money and incentives for R&D investments, which could then help to Finland get back to the track. And the good news is also that even the share of the R&D investments have come down, but it's now more international, the funding. Even here, in 2000, it was only 1% of R&D investment was financed by foreign companies. Now it's more than 13%, so it's steadily increased so that the foreign companies and funding have found the Finnish know-how in R&D. But of course we hope that we'll continue and boost this number going forward to bring our labor productivity on a growth path again. And now the good news, we have some good opportunities there. Just to mention two fields, this was also already said before, the clean energy. And I think this is quite an achievement if you look at how the CO2 emissions of Finnish electricity generation have developed over the past 13 years. From 2025 gram per kilowatt hour to 33, minus 87% over the 13 years, which means that we basically totally free fossil-free electricity Tuesday. 94% of electricity is fossil-free last year, and it will be even bigger the share this year because there are more wind turbines installed and so on. So basically what we have cheap, second cheapest electricity for the industry last year in Europe, and it's clean. So in the green transition, this is the biggest raw material what you can have is the clean and cheap electricity. And there are a lot of investment plans to Finland to utilize this. Not many of them have not come through the final investment stage yet, but I believe it will happen. There has been a couple of hurdles on the way. One is the higher rates, interest rates. When the interest rates go up, then the investments come a little bit less profitable. And this has a little bit slowed down some of the investment. Another thing is the state aid, which we in Finland, we don't have that much money in our public coffers to put for the big companies to invest here. In the US, in the big European countries, in China, there are quite a big amount of money putting in the green transition factories, whether it's steel, whether it's battery factories, etc. But when the time comes that we are playing on the level playing field, I think Finland is quite an attractive place for this. If you look at this is the average of 6 largest countries in Europe, how much they pollute with their electricity generation, which is the same amount that Finland had 13 years ago. So we are basically 10 years ahead, which is good that we are ahead of the curve now, so we can benefit from this. But we need to be a little bit patient. And it's not only that use the raw material, but it's also the innovations that the Finnish companies are doing. So as we have learned from the big tech companies, it's the innovation that you can multiply and spread over the world where the money is basically lying. It's not to produce something material necessarily, which is also needed in Finland, but also to remember the innovation in the clean tech and green transition that can have a big economic impact also on the Finnish economy. Then the second point, also mentioned earlier, AI. This is that everybody is talking about now. And what's the Finland's role there? Elsa had a good graph from this DESI index, which measures European countries how the digital economy is basically going in the different countries. And in this index, Finland is #1 in Europe. We have good connections, connectivity, the digital skills of the people, digitalization used by the companies and public services. All of these are at high level, which then actually helps us to roll over the AI in our companies. We have the skills, we have the connections. So Finland is already actually #3 in Europe as what comes to the companies who are utilizing artificial intelligence. But of course, if you look at now, this is 15% of companies. Going forward, next 10 years, it should be 100%. And here is also being a front runner could be a very good strategy as well, because the market is penetrating. If you are fast there, you might get a little bit advantage. So we have here 2 good reasons to be optimistic that the Finnish economy can find in help of, for example, US companies. They can provide the research and the tools for the AI. We don't need to develop all of them by ourselves, but we can utilize them. And also, we are producing electricity or innovation. US companies can utilize that. So we have a very good bilateral trade here, what we can do going forward. Thank you. And then we have time for a couple of questions. No,
please, we do have time for a couple of questions. We've got Mike Kleisico, our director of Launchpad USA, with the mic. He's ready to hand it over to our most active members. So questions for Juho and on the deep dive report. I will say, while you guys are thinking of them, also in this report that Juho has included in his analysis, you'll find more information on the app economy, AI as mentioned, digital service trade, green transition, and even taking a look at Finland and China. We get a lot of questions on the US, Chinese, European nexus, and so we have added that this year as well. So questions for Juho. Oh, Ville right up at the front. Yep, Mike's got you covered with a mic. That's why he... Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, okay. Thank you for the presentation. That was excellent. And I was curious. You mentioned state aid, which is really what I was kind of saying, that we are moving from pro-market to pro-business. And you said that it will eventually stop. What is your view on that? Because when I look at it from the political side, the way it's built in Europe or in China or even in US, I don't see the end of it very near future.
That's very fair point, and I don't think it should stop even to support the green transition in general. But the way it's done, for example, in Europe now, it's that the richest and strongest will survive, but it's not necessarily where it's economically beneficiary to make the next step for the green transition. For example, you put the battery factory in Germany instead of Finland. What happens for the electricity? You need to produce more dirt electricity in Germany to support that. Okay, because it's taking the clean energy. We could provide it with the cleaner energy. So this is nonsense in my point of view. So I hope that the state aid rules in the Europe will come at some, let's say, better solutions, that the one by one we are giving ad hoc grants for the different kind of companies to put more harmonized, let's say, framework for this. So we need state aid support to green transition to happen, but the current form is far from optimal, even with the not looking to Finnish classes, but also if you look at the climate change, this is not the way one should do it. Yeah, very good question.
Thank you. Right over there, Ted Apter from Suomen Economist.
Thanks, Juho, for a brilliant presentation. Question about the AI, and you mentioned that Finland was ranked 3rd with 15%. How could we speed it up to get closer to 100?
That's a good question. I don't have answers. Of course, if you think AI, it's investment for the company, where other investments. So you need to put effort and money in the first place, and then you might get or you might not get some rewards there. But given the fact that Finnish companies have not put that much effort in the research and development in the recent year, I think they should. But I don't know what kind of incentive structure other than business incentive we can build there. I don't. That's a very good question. I have no answers for that, but I hope it will happen. Maybe Ville can have a good political plan.
I was going to say in the fall, AmCham hosted an event called Leader's Guide to AI, and one of the outcomes and takeaways from that event is that understanding how to utilize AI is going to be like what email was 20, 30 years ago. You need to arrive at the workplace knowing how to utilize this technology. You need to be part of the contributing force of this technology, and that's the only way to get ahead. And we're also going to be working with Helen Knowlton to be bringing you all more AI content in the near future. Antti Aumo from Invest in Finland, and then a question in the back as well. Sorry.
First of all, thank you, Juho, for the good presentation. My name is Nikunj. I am from Nokia. So my question is about AI. I think Alexandra was talking a little bit about it. So I want to understand a little bit more about AI in terms of collaboration between companies, and what kind of support do you think countries can give to companies in terms of better collaboration, and especially now we are talking about US and Finland. So how do you see some synergies US can share with Finland to make?
Yeah, we have plenty of good questions and remarks here. I have unfortunately very little answers. But as I say that I know that the Finland have actually in the university, they have quite a good AI research there. But this is something that we don't necessarily do ourselves here. So, and we don't have the resources. We know that.
I have a comment.
Yeah, you have the comment. The big US companies, they are happy to research this. As like Chinese are happy to support, for example, the solar panels, and we are happy to buy them cheap. Same is with the AI. We are happy to let the others to develop, but then we need to get the connection that we can get fully utilize it. But Alexandra had a good answer there.
In the research for the Leader's Guide to AI event last year, and I know this is now old information, but there's a new report on it. But the US is investing $50 billion in AI. China is investing $30 billion. Europe as a whole is investing around $10 billion. It's not enough. We need to do more. But the good thing about this is Finland, as Juho said, we're early adopters. We are doing more than our European counterparts. So even though we don't have as much capital, we can lead the pack in this, which makes us very interesting partners for the US and for American companies, because that is clearly what's moving forward. It was US banks that first came out with predictions for the US economy in terms of how much AI will add to GDP. And that was already last year, last fall. We were talking about that with Mike, actually, about how much that'll add to the economy. Nordea, we could be having those conversations as well. How much could AI add to the Finnish economy? How could we contribute to the US economy with that? All right, we have one more question. Antti Aumo, please go ahead, from Invest in Finland.
Thanks, Alexandra, and Juho, thanks for excellent presentation. I wanted to come back to your question about, which I think is excellent, how to lower the threshold of using AI in companies. And I have a suggestion. Let's not call it AI. Because I believe that for many companies, it's something too big, too vague, too complex, too scary. It sounds a bit excuse me the pun, too artificial. So instead, let's talk about large language models. Let's talk about machine learning, the real things we can do today. And they are much easier to grasp, and companies can relate to, well, what could we use large language models, could we use machine learning, and that way make it more widespread. That's my idea. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Antti. Thank you so much, Juho. A round of applause for Juho Kostiainen. Thank you. I'll say the work that Juho does every year to really look at the analysis behind this report provides our organization also with direction in terms of what are those trends we should be looking at. And it's clear AI or machine learning or whatever we are going to term it in the near future is a core part of that. So before we move to our conversations with our leaders, I wanted to mention that this is our community. And you see a lot of American, international, and Finnish brands behind me. We all share in a vision for a resilient and sustainable and innovative transatlantic economy. And I want to mention this because at its core, there are many things that we will talk about today and that has already been mentioned, but at its core, we're looking to increase our mutual commercial success. We want you to grow your businesses. We want you to add more jobs to the economy. And I really firmly believe that the transatlantic community creates more jobs when we invest in each other. And when we both lead the way in digital services and green transition, it's such a natural fit. I do this job because I really believe that our members, the people in this room, the people online, hi guys, thanks so much for joining us today. You have the power to change the course of history. You have the power to have a positive impact on our children's future, on our future. As Ville mentioned, the momentum is here. It is now. It's about tenacity. It's about moving forward. It's about pushing and being willing to share our experiences, being willing to learn from each other and to share those insights. And that's why it is such an honor for me that we have members who are so engaged in the work that we're doing, in their work leading Finnish companies, leading American companies, that they want to share their insights, let us know how they view this relationship, what works, what doesn't, what are their challenges, what are the opportunities as they see it. So I would love to give a really warm welcome to Mikko Nyman, the CEO from Fastems, and Seppo Aaltonen, Vice President for Nordics and NATO Mission Systems at ISAI. Please, gentlemen, warm applause. Thank you. Sami Pakalen, who's the CEO of Stalatube, wishes he could be here today. Unfortunately, he is home ill. So we have Seppo, our new board member as well, stepping in. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, Mikko, as well, for coming. It is such a great pleasure to have you here. So before we get started into the conversations, why don't you share, Mikko, give us a 30 seconds Fastems. What is Fastems?
Okay, Fastems automates parts manufacturing in different parts of the world. Our customers include companies that make airplanes or fighter jets, different kinds of yellow goods, mobile machinery, and different kinds of machines. We are a family-owned business. We have been around for the last 120 years already, but we are still in the leading edge of intelligent automation and solutions around this.
Fantastic, Mikko. And Seppo, is it today your first day at ISAI?
Yeah, this is a little bit sneak start, actually on Monday, so I'm a little bit formally in here.
Fantastic. Can you do the 20-second pitch?
Of course. Yeah, so ISAI is one of the new emerging space leaders. So the world's largest constellation of SAR satellite, synthetic aperture radar, is probably ISAI. Obviously, this gives revolutionary opportunities for areas such as mission systems, so for national defense and intelligence, for insurance, for crop control, for natural disaster detection, and so forth, so on. And obviously, given the space economy and innovation, we are seeing really a new era of value creation opportunity for Finland. There's a strong ecosystem here as well.
Thank you. And I love this because we have a company with a long, rich history who has evolved to meet modern needs of manufacturing companies. And we have a relatively new company who's looking at emerging technology. And I think that is really reflective of the state of the Finnish economy and the companies that we work with today. So I will dive straight into it. You know, both of you have experience working with American partners, doing business in the US, expanding your companies. What is so different about working in the US than working here in Finland, and what advice would you give to companies who are looking to go there? Mikko, you're nodding enthusiastically. Yeah. I know you're ready to go.
Sure. One thing that we have clearly observed is that when you go into US, you might think that you're entering a new country, but that's really a wrong conception because US is so huge. So actually, you need to really have the mindset that you are entering a new continent, and really you need to figure out where to focus. So if you are kind of a medium-sized company like ourselves with limited resources, you better focus on finding those clusters and areas where you are really able to grow and have a good level of network and activity instead of trying to cover the whole market, for example.
That's excellent advice. So really segment that market and look at those different areas to enter. Seppo, would you have a comment?
Yeah, a couple of perspectives. So one, for growing business in the US is just the sheer scale. I think there is the scale of the market. So obviously, if you are in high tech, like we see many companies here investing heavily in R&D, the payback, if you succeed in the US, despite our competition, the size of the price is just very, very big. And we've seen that very strongly. Second is this importance of adapting to the local culture, like in any market. You know, there are obviously a lot of microcultures. You need to have a team, you need to have partners and to grow. And I think this is also reflecting a little bit about this community and ecosystem thinking.
I could maybe build a little bit on that one. So we entered US originally through a joint venture. We then acquired the company later on, and gradually we have been kind of increasing the share of, let's say, local talent, and clearly is so that Americans, like anybody, like to buy from, let's say, locals who really understand the local networks and the culture and so on. So I think that's a clear lesson learned that how to really get into the market, you need to act local.
Yeah, and also what Mikko was elaborating about, in a way, the different markets. So what we've seen is that we have been serving different clusters. And when you look from here, US might look uniform, but if you want to serve the automotive, you need to be in Detroit. If you want to serve defense, you need to be in Texas and Orlando. So there are different like clusters where you see a high concentration of companies, talent, and innovation. So that's one thing I think is to do homework on, what is your market, where you need to be, what are the clusters you need to address.
Well, building on that, what are the experiences that stick most in your mind? What have you learned through your successes that you want other Finns to know?
Yeah, I mean, one is obviously this, that it also takes time to penetrate. Obviously, US is a market that is highly competitive. You fight for attention. There is a media environment that is very crowded. So be focused. Think about where you spend your resources. You make your breakthrough, where you land, and then you expand. If you do many things, it's very hard. The capital will burn. Yeah,
that's a very, very good one. Another one that we have learned is that really the speed is slightly different in US compared to Finland and Europe. So I think that, let's say, keeping things simple is also something that's really very much appreciated, because then it gives you speed. So as an example, we have let's say, this entry-level automation solution where in Germany, where we have been started selling it, there's like 1,000 options that the German engineers like to choose from. We tried to enter into US with this, and everyone's we can't understand, it's way too complex. Then we figured out that we'll have 3 different packages, the basic, the advanced and ultimate, and now we are really successful with this one. So I think that's one clear insight.
Yeah, and one other aspect I think that came up earlier in the excellent earlier presentations is that I think there is a genuine interest in the US market for Finland right now. And I think we see that from, if I look at being very active in the US market the past 15 years, I think the past 2 months, 2 years, I've never seen Finland getting so much attention. So I think there is opportunity now. Obviously, NATO and the security situation is one aspect, but really it's opportunity to grab, and I'm pretty sure that it's not always like this. So it's also a call for action to act now.
I love that call for action to act now. The public decision makers in our audience are probably very happy to hear our business leaders say that. As leaders doing business in the US, what are those key topics that you keep an eye on things that are happening? What are the trends and topics that you are looking at and watching for that you would advise other leaders to do the same?
Yeah, from our side, obviously, let's say the macroeconomic trends, exchange rates and so on are important, but also then very important is the rate in which the reshoring of the manufacturing takes place. So there's a lot of investment now going into this area. But there's still more talk about it and still not so much actually happening that maybe you would understand from different kind of media presentations and news and so on. So really looking forward to see how that will develop. But then the other area to really follow, and this is something quite new, let's say, on the longer term perspective, is the geopolitics. So I was listening to the retired General David Petraeus last year, and he said that at the time there's more let's say, different kinds of geopolitical balls that the politicians need to juggle than they have been ever in his career. And I think that from last year this has just increased. So now the business leaders need to really pay close attention to geopolitics, especially if you are operating, for example, like we are in both US and China. It actually is something that you really need to carefully think your every step.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think there are a couple of observations from my side. One has been the strength of the US economy, the constant, basically, high employment and the vitality of the tech innovation. And I think this is something that we really need to pay attention to, particularly in high margin, high value-added tech innovation areas, and also kind of be present. A lot of the most innovative partners and technology access is there. So if you want to compete on the world stage, I think it's important to be present. And I think second is exactly the geopolitics. I think that we see in all technology layers, if you think about the embargoes on Chinese and chipset manufacturing, we see the competition in AI, we see the militarization or dual use of a lot of technologies, and I think that's very much changed the perspectives of doing global business. So you have to be conscious about these strategic choices. Where do you put, non-revocable investments?
That's very true. Even in this kind of traditional domain like manufacturing, you really need to pay closer eye continuously on, what the big tech companies in Silicon Valley are doing. So it's definitely permeating everything.
Yeah. I definitely think that's one of those trends that we've seen also at AmCham in the community, that over the past 2 or 3 years, geopolitics is elevated to a board-level leadership decision. Management teams talk about geopolitics regularly. It's one of the reasons we are launching the Strategy Directors Network, because we want to help companies just like yours. I would love to open it up for questions. I do have more on my handy little sheet here, but I want to make sure our audience has a chance to ask questions about Finnish companies entering, succeeding, and doing business in the US. Do we have any questions from our audience? Oh, Elsa and then Nina.
Hi, thank you both for a really great panel so far. I've heard Mike Lysico here give enough presentations that I know that the US is facing historically tight labour market. I think unemployment is at below 4% right now. And I also know that the advice that we give to launchpad companies is to establish boots on the ground. And so in this situation, how would you advise Finnish companies to be competitive as employers and to secure that local talent in the US?
Yeah, very good question. For us, obviously, this shortage of labor is really a key selling point, because what you do when you don't find people, you need to automate. So that's really why we are thriving in the business at the moment. But in terms of entering the market, it is definitely a struggle for a small company to make a name in that kind of a big country. So even if in Finland we have a fairly good name when it comes to hiring good engineers, in the US not so much. So what we have tried to do is at least get name in certain area again, not for the whole country, but collaborate with one, let's say, good university and build it from there. That would be my kind of 5 cents.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree on the basically notion of war for talent. It's really basically when you're an unknown company from an unknown country, you have to make extra work to attract the talent, and also, as said, basically be really due diligent about the recruitment. And then, frankly, you have to kind of be competitive on the salary and so forth, and it's a different ball game. So, you know, to be competitive in the local market, you need to forget the Finnish standards.
Nina.
Let's try this mic if it works, right?
Yeah.
Maybe an advice to other companies. What is, so to say, in a nutshell, the selling pitch that you have made that you could share with others that make them get the investment, make them succeed?
Well, at least from our side, you know, we feel that Americans like to talk about the ROI, so that's what we focus on. You know, what kind of return on investment you are able to get by investing into intelligent automation. You are able to grow and scale your business without having to invest into people that are scarcely available, and you're able to get more productivity and more profitability out of your business. So that's in the nutshell what we discuss.
Yeah, and it's all about, you know, being very sharp about the pitch. How do you add value to the customer, solving the problem that the customer has? And from my side point of view is that we bring disruptive technology that enables doing totally new level of accuracy of space monitor at very reduced cost and very high speed compared to any systems available today.
Okay, go right ahead.
Mikko Puustinen from the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Employment. Maybe just shortly comment first. Can confirm that there's great interest and you know demand for new, even more Finnish products and services in the US. So when the Minister of Economic Affairs, Mr. Rydman, paid a visit to the US with 17 companies a month ago, that was the conclusion, including also using AI and so on and so forth. But the question, just how about from your company's perspective, it seems that in the US, different states in the US, they, for example, in the energy transition, they advance at different speeds. So is there any sort of like, you know, observations from your company's view, where is the sort of like the greatest growth, or what kind of strategies you have in terms of different states, West Coast, East Coast, and so on and so forth? Thank you.
Yeah, from my point of view, it's been very much in a way the cluster thinking, that depending on what industry you are targeting, you need to basically see where is the critical mass. And I said basically automotive, Detroit, defense, Orlando, Texas, and so forth. And I can imagine that in many sectors you have the same thing, and then you have to basically penetrate there.
Yeah, we have exactly the same thing. So it's very much about identifying the local clusters. So we, you know, California is a lot about space technology, for example. Texas about oil and gas, about defense, and so on and so on. So that's you can't think of the US as a single market. You really need to dig deeper.
Reggie.
Hi, Reggie Roussan with E-Systems. As we're talking about the kind of the resource issue in the U.S., are you guys using U.S.-based or Finnish-based U.S. resources to help you gain access to the market? Because one of the things I do see is that regardless of the country that you're growing in, there's lots of those nationals within Finland that can actually give you a competitive advantage.
Yeah, I mean, from our point of view, at least, we use basically all types of expertise to penetrate. You need to have, obviously, technology know-how, you need to have local networks, you need to have, so it takes typically a value system of internal employees, but also partners to succeed.
Yeah, maybe an asset that we could do more with would be nice to exchange some view around this one. But yeah, clearly, let's say this collaboration between the different cultures is crucially needed, and obviously, you know, I think in every company that wants to be successful in Finland needs to be also, you know, welcoming different people from different backgrounds and nationalities to really create the kind of working place where this kind of growth can be fostered.
And I will end then on a final question, because both your companies are dual use. You work with defense companies, you work with non-defense companies, and at AmCham for the last 2 years or so, the number of questions we get about, for example, our defense industry dialogue or the defense programming that's happening, how does it compare, the work you've done to enter the US when it comes to working in the defense space versus when it comes to working outside of defense? Do you have any observations to share, anything, takeaways you want our members to think about when they're making those decisions?
Yeah, well, we have been in the defense space in US much longer time than let's say before it became a sexy topic like it is at the moment.
You
so
were
to
there
say.
before it was cool.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but it is definitely kind of long-term relationship building. So there's no quick wins to be gained. And of course, you need some serendipity also in the process, like we have had in some cases. That when you meet the right people at the right times, you can make big movements forward. But it's a lot of long-term work and networking. That's what I can say.
Love that you said networking.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And really, I mean, building that long-term trust, it takes time. So you have to have the patience. Your investors need to have the patience. At the same time, particularly in the US, the scale of the defense investment is kind of unparalleled. So you think about, in a way, in a NATO context, typically 70% of the scale is there. And it tends also to be a de facto standard very quickly, versus in a way, if you work with similar fragmented bases in Europe, where there's kind of different bureaucracies, different type of national protectionist typically. So it's been, yeah, the scale again, it's a very different market.
Yeah. And I do want to say for the companies listening in and for our members who are considering, while working in defense is a long-term commitment, when I'm walking, I will be in DC in about 2 weeks, and with my Nordic and European counterparts. And when the US decision makers have questions about the defense industry, they turn to Finland. They don't necessarily know my name, but they know I run the AmCham in Finland, and they turn to Finland and they ask our opinion first. And I think that really says something important about what countries the US is paying attention to. So thank you, Mikko and Seppo, very much for sharing your insights. A warm round of applause. Please, gentlemen. So now we are moving on to US companies thriving in Finland. American companies in Finland are a core part of our membership, but they're also a core part of R&D, of foreign affiliate sales, of consumer products, of the brands that we know and love. I'm incredibly proud to welcome Nina Ekholm-Venberg, who's the country director for Johnson & Johnson, and Niklas Lilius, managing director for Finland for Mondelez. Welcome, guys. Another warm round of applause. All right. So with a 20-second pitch, let's talk about your companies. We have Toblerone sitting on our desk right now.
Indeed.
Mondelez, why don't you go right ahead?
So Mondelez is one of the world's largest snacking companies. We are a stock-listed company with a market cap of around $90 billion and roughly just under 100,000 employees. You'll probably know us in your household, being the biggest biscuits company in the world. So we have brands like Oreo, Lou, Tuk crackers, Ritz crackers, but then also being the second biggest chocolate company, as you said, Toblerone. Hopefully you all tried some earlier today. And then also local brands such as Marabou, but also in Europe, local brands such as Milka, Côte d'Or, Suchard, and so on.
Perfect. Thank you,
Thank you.
Niklas. Let's talk about Johnson & Johnson, Nina.
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson is also one of the biggest in its own area industry. We have a medtech and innovative pharma company. We have some 90 billion sales globally. In Finland, 116 million, and 160 employees as well. We are maybe famous more if, like in this oncology sector, so if you have a cancer, you maybe be treated with our medication, or in neuroscience like depression, or in immunological diseases. I think you can also maybe get a hip or spine replacement with our medications, or a robotics, so to say, surgery happening with our medications. Yeah.
Fantastic. So, if we start our conversation at more of a 50,000-foot level and look at what is happening in Finland, because that is a core part of what we do, is making Finland a more attractive and competitive place to do business. What are the benefits to Finland, do you think, of having American multinationals, of you all being invested here?
I think it was already touched upon here today. The digitalization is a very core topic. And I mean, when I try to advocate for why Finland, why to invest here more, it's really about everything about that. We have digital health records here that helps us to say, get real-world evidence generated. This, together with the biobanks that we have here in Finland, and like a very good competence center, for example, in oncology and diagnostics that we have, enables us to invest in this country. So I advocate a lot, and I was actually quite successful this last year. We have seen a downward trend when it comes, for example, to clinical studies in Finland, but we were able to, for our own sake, change the ship. So currently, J&J is, so to say, and Finland is a core country when it comes to clinical studies in the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah, so quite big investments directly, monetary, but also like healthcare outcomes now, short-term and long-term for Finnish patients, and also we educate simultaneously then, so to say, the pharma. So it's very good.
Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you.
I heard that Finland's also a priority for Mondelez.
Absolutely. So Finland, I guess we can say, is technology rich, but more capital poor than what we would compare to the US. What really interests Mondelez, or what interests Mondelez about Finland, is the fact that Finland has fantastic technology. We have lots of companies that don't necessarily have a lot of access to capital. Mondelez in itself, being a big company, has its own venture capital arm. So we're constantly on the lookout for different technologies that are available. Now, these could be anything from sort of supply chain solutions to actually a growing sector in Finland, which is food tech. So looking at food tech, you can see that goes hand in hand with the transition to green economy. I was just looking at some of the numbers on food tech in Finland. So if we don't count Volt and Relics, which were mentioned in your report, between 2015 and 2022, food tech in Finland received investments of 270 million euros. We can see that this is just growing constantly. From our perspective, this also probably goes hand in hand with that the retailers or the whole environment in Finland is very focused on sustainability and transitioning to green. So one great example is the biggest retailer in Finland is SOK. They have about 48% market share in Finland, and they've actually had or stated that one of their goals is to have 65% of their products by 2030 being plant-based. Now, of course, when you have half of the market saying that we want to have 65% in a few years' time being green, then that actually incentivizes people to go into that sort of technology. So these are things that really we look at, because we see that the Nordics and especially Finland are leaders in this, and likely that other countries in Europe will be following soon after. So
that's fantastic. So both of you are looking at Finland for innovation and green transition as well. That's excellent. So as a Finn leading an American company in Finland, what are some of the strengths that you see that the US can bring to our ecosystem here, that you see in the leadership of your companies Finland could benefit from?
What US could bring to Finland? Yeah, I think there's multiple things. I think the most two things that stand out is naturally innovation. I mean, that comes also entrepreneurship. And then I think the other thing is the attitude, which means also global mindset per se.
Yeah.
I think our company is utilizing a lot this, say, innovation within the field we are, and also are an entrepreneur in many places. And I mean the attitude and global mindset, I can take my own story. When I was 50 and I did my first exchange to US, and I remember when I come home and my mom was like, "You have been so Americanized, Nina. Can you just become back, as a thing?" But I think she was right in one sense, but I also, on the other hand, I granted a lot of experience with that, and I think it has personally helped me. And also, that's what we do with the company itself. It's really this global mindset, and we invest some 3 billion globally in this kind of inorganic growth. So we're happy to invest more in Finland if there is, so to say, continued and stable society here.
That's fantastic. I'm glad you mentioned mindset, because that's actually a word that comes up a lot in our country managers network. It's also, we produced the FDI vision a few years ago. The number one point of things that business leaders wanted Finland as a society to work on was having a more open mindset in terms of innovation and also being very international.
Yeah, it was very good to hear the previous speakers here of how they do their pitches and how they, so to say, came about.
Yeah.
And I guess, I mean, from my industry, we have significantly less data available to us here in Finland than what we do in the US, which means that the sort of strive for best practice, we can see that the US is on a different level. Now, we do some fantastic things here in Finland, there's no doubt about that. But why we try to leverage so many insights as we possibly can at Mondelez here in Finland from the US or other countries is because the way we view it is, if you're not constantly striving for best practice, then you will fall behind. I was just a couple of weeks ago in Zurich, and somebody gave it a good analogy, which probably hits home here in Finland, being Formula One. That if you think about the qualifying laps, everybody is very close. It's only one lap. So between the first car and the last car, probably less than a second. So it doesn't really make much of a difference. But over the course of a race, if it's 1 second, or if it's 1 year that one other company is doing better than you, over several years, and then suddenly their budgets will be much bigger, they will have much more financial strength to develop their business instead of you. So that's why constantly striving for that best practice, constantly looking at how do we make every dime work harder, that's something that we should really be leveraging here in Finland, and that's something we try to utilize at Mondelez Finland quite a lot.
Thank you for that. I will definitely be quoting you on that. I wrote, if you're not constantly striving for best practice, you are falling behind. That's definitely something I think that we have in common, Niklas, when we work together.
What about you? What do you think? You are, let's say, also connected as a US to Finland. What do you believe?
Very much along those same lines, that there is a sense of taking initiative and being open, and that opportunity happens everywhere. Mikko mentioned serendipity. I think there is such a thing in the US as making your own luck. And when you show up to places, when you are networking, you are making your own luck. And then when you're iteratively looking at things, you're constantly improving. I think it's not a coincidence that some of our best thought leaders come from US institutions. They come from Harvard, which is why we have a partnership with them. They come from Stanford. They come from places that provide that kind of leadership thinking. And as I mentioned, one of the reasons I do this job is because Finland has such tremendous knowledge power and education and ingenuity that combined with this kind of different type of mindset, I think is really a winning combination. We just have to figure out how to leverage it. And those of you who are playing buzzword bingo should be really happy. After today. Well, I mean, taking another look at it, if you two could wave a magic wand and change anything, what would you take a look at in terms of encouraging more American companies to invest here and to focus on Finland?
I think if we build on what you just said, for example, and the attitude and what you talked about the partnerships, for example, so I think there we have a lot to learn and further increase. I mean, not change per se, but we could further increase this kind of public-private partnerships. And I I think like that will create us much more jobs going forward in the future as well. And we'll see EU is a very good example where you have academia, you have like so to say public and private and collaborate together. I see, for example, we have in Finland also within healthcare sector, the FinGen study where we have biobanks, you have the university and the university hospitals, and Business Finland has been investing there as well, and then private companies, etc., and how that has grown. So I would like to take this kind of partnerships further. I think in Finland we still tend to be represented more with, so to say, associations like AmCham, and you're doing a fantastic job, or I'm also chair and vice chair of many associations, for example, BIF. But I would like us to have even more connected, the direct company, private companies, big, small, with, so to say, the stakeholders in Finland. And I think we have a little bit of this kind of attitude in Finland that we want to have it handled by the associations, and then it becomes a little bit, so to say, far away from the company. So that would be my thinking. I think TEM is doing a good job there. We have getting good collaboration. I think we could further strive with the other ministries as well on that path.
Nicholas, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, well, I mean, the way I view it is we have a lot to be proud of in Finland that we can really shout about, but we don't necessarily do that. One of our cultural strengths is that our word is our bond. We will deliver on what we say we will deliver, but then that also means that we sometimes focus on the negative aspects of what's going on in our economy, or what are the challenges that we see. I mean, it's something where, just as an example, I mean, if we compare it to Sweden, apart from Marabou, products in Sweden aren't necessarily better, but yeah, you notice that? I needed to get that in there. but they are very good at marketing themselves. Yeah. That's why they get a lot of investment. They get a lot of focus, just simply because when they look at what products they have available to them that they've produced, they don't necessarily think about how to become the biggest in Sweden. They think about, okay, how do we make this the biggest in the world? We are still a little bit shy in Finland in terms of putting ourselves out there, really stretching the things that we do well, because we do tremendous things well in this country. And I think that's one thing that if we stick out our noses a little bit more, we will get even more investments into Finland just by being more vocal about what is actually really good about Finland and what are the strengths that we have here.
I think the decimeters here that was shown already, that shows that we are a digital giant in Finland. We should be really bringing that forward to the US much more stronger. And then on the like a more holistic level, where I feel very proud as a Finn, is naturally the transparency that we have in our society, the trust we have, and also we have a quite stable, so to say, operating environment here, so political and economical environment, which is very important. That's, so to say, the positive things to bring forward.
Fantastic. I'd like to open the floor up to questions on American companies thriving in Finland. Does anyone have any questions? Right over here, Everest from VMS, please go right ahead. Oh, there's
Thank you so much. Maybe a question to Nina. Can you talk a bit about talent and how we export talent and how we import talent in this situation where you're a US company based in Finland, and how important or not maybe that is for future success of Finland?
Yeah, a very good question. Already when I did my master thesis, I did it for Nokia, and it was about this talent exchange, so I love the topic on that part. But if we then focus into the pharmaceuticals and medtech part, I think talent, like so to say, and you are one of those coming, so to say, to Finland as well, and working as a GM for BMS, one of the biggest companies in the pharmaceutical sectors, and myself have been 10 years abroad. I think that's, we have very educated people here in Finland. It's very good to be in Finland. So what I struggle with when I'm a GM, and it's the second time now in pharmaceuticals, to get those fantastic talents to go abroad and do fantastically well when they are sourced there to get a nicer position or a higher vertical position. So we try to educate our team already how important this kind of global mobility is in order for you to strive in your vertical career. And we help them, train them, do business cases, because you can sometimes have a person who has been more trained in this, and then a Finn, like we talked about the attitude, and they are equally good, but the other one just doesn't sell themselves as good. So we help the team. We help them to be better to sell themselves. So going forward, we need this kind of talent exchange to Finland and from Finland, and we need to grow in that one. It's very important for us also growing in this sector.
Is Finland attractive internally when people look at where they should exchange, which offices they should come to? How is Finland viewed?
Yeah, lastly today I had one German wanting to come to Finland. He had never been to Finland, but he had this kind of view that he really wanted to come to Finland. It was the stability, it was the nature, etc. So we get those. Then sometimes they also want to understand that how is it if I don't know Finnish? It's not, so to say, so easy to learn either. But we, in our industry, are lucky that we mainly also work within English as a business language, so it's easy to do. And we have a lot of those. And we have also in our Finland office a lot of global employees and European and Middle East and Africa employees working hands-on.
Fantastic. Niklas?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. For us, we actively try and encourage people to travel abroad, also trying to encourage more secondments and things like this, just to get more of an international understanding as to what best practice is in other countries. It's not to go there and take everything you learn and then come back. It's to go there, take the best things that you think actually these can be reapplied and suitable for Finland, to then make sure that the Finnish organization in itself accelerates its results. I would say we do have interest in moving to Finland. At the same time, we've also actually had quite a few challenges, because while Finland has had some fantastic press, as Ambassador Hickey did mention, and we should really be capitalizing on that at this point in time, we are also seeing that there are questions there. We actually had some people reject a move internally just because they believed that the Finnish working culture is such that unless you speak Finnish, you have no possibility to thrive within a Finnish organization. And that's something that we're actively trying to move away from, so that people understand that it's okay not necessarily to speak Finnish. We've actually done away with Finnish as a mandatory language at Mondelez now in our job applications, unless it's absolutely...
So you've done away with Finnish. You're operating completely in English as an international company in Finland.
So basically, most of our meetings, sometimes of course we do have them in Finnish, but if we are having... If we look at our day-to-day, we have so many meetings with international people that we have to be speaking English on a day-to-day basis. We're now actually getting, so Mondelez Finland up until now has not had any non-Finnish speakers, and we're now getting our first non-Finnish speakers coming to the organization. And that's one thing that we do notice is, if you compare it to Sweden, for example, it's more acceptable in Sweden to speak even broken Swedish. You don't have to be perfect at speaking Swedish to be able to succeed in a Swedish organization. Meanwhile, here, even though Finns speak fantastic English on the whole, they prefer to steer away from it and instead stick to Finnish, which is why we've actually had a little bit of a challenge internally marketing Mondelez Finland to the rest of the Mondelez organization, but that is slowly but surely changing.
I'm really glad to hear it is slowly changing. We have more questions. We have time for one more question. Otherwise, I will take the privilege and ask, what reason do you have to be optimistic about how things are moving forward in the future? I think I will preface that where that question came from is we often have conversations when we're reading the news, when we're listening to experts talk about the geopolitical situation or things that are going on. As business leaders, do we have reasons to be optimistic about the future of this relationship?
Absolutely. We follow it very closely, both to say how funding and investments are made from the public sector into, for example, and we see, for example, the PhDs, that was also part of the report, the 1,000 PhD that's been supported, but we then follow very closely what is the outcome of that. So it shouldn't be just academic research and so on. It needs to be some health transformational medicines coming out from that, so to say, kind of investment. So absolutely. We also see it as more stable environment, political and economical in Finland going forward with the collaboration in the US, an increased one. So I see very positive signs of this one.
Fantastic.
And I trust that TEM will also spread, so to say, the collaboration with private and public partnerships going forward to the other ministries. So,
yeah, I will say one of the big sea changes that I've seen in my time as AmCham CEO is that the public sector and our government decision makers are far more active towards the private sector now than ever.
Yes.
And we're really appreciative of that. So thank you very much for that. Niklas.
Absolutely. I mean, the way I see it is, yes, we do have some challenges, there's no doubt, but Finland has faced a lot of challenges in the past. We have faced economic challenges from time to time. And all countries do. It's not about not facing challenges ever. It's about how you act in the face of those challenges. Right now, we can see the government is discussing all sorts of steps in terms of getting us into the right position. We can see that we are getting more visibility than ever across the globe, and the public perception, I mean, the Foreign Ministry put out a report, I think it was last year, where you can see that the public perception of Finland is actually on the rise internationally. And in addition to that, we also have, as you mentioned, stability. That's something that even in some very successful countries in Europe, it could be that it's crime rates, it could be that there's other instability. We actually have a very stable country, and now with the ascension into NATO and everything like that, we will hopefully be getting even more stability, and that gives companies, international companies, the confidence to invest even further in Finland. So I'm absolutely positive about where things are headed.
Fantastic. That just tickles my bones. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Niklas and Nina, for your contribution.
Kiitos.
And we've got today the Finland-U.S. Economic Deep Dive for everyone. I will also mention, if you need help telling that Finland story, we also have the Finland Fact Pack that we did in cooperation with August Associates. And that also helps tell that story. It's funny, you know, while they were chatting, we've always marketed that as a tool for country managers because we know it's so important. But now we just having this conversation, you know, it's also a tool for Finns who are looking to sell Finland and the idea of this country to the U.S. So, if you are a Finnish company looking to enter the U.S. market, AmCham's Launchpad USA can help. And if you're an American company in Finland, well done, you found it. We're the community for you. We're right here. We're ready to welcome you. No two other regions in the world are as deeply integrated as the US and Europe. And as you've heard and can read in the report, the ties are particularly thick in areas that we've talked about today, in areas that we care about, areas like foreign direct investment, areas like R&D, trade and affiliate sales in both goods and services, digital links, energy, patent cooperation, technology flows, and for the service providers in this room, sales of knowledge-intensive services are particularly thick between the US and Finland. And I've said this before, but it bears repeating. The best way for any of us to serve our countries is to succeed on their behalf. It's to create jobs on both sides of the Atlantic. I'm aware that we have people tuning in from the US, so thank you for what you do as well. To innovate for the good of society and to educate so we know what the focus of our future should be. I mean, that's what Ville was talking about, was focus and future, and I really see that that's in the transatlantic relationship, and that's the purpose of us producing reports like this one. It's to help us focus, to provide us with the data that we need to make smart decisions, to understand what the status quo is so that we can move forward from here, and to create a business environment that helps both American and international companies thrive in Finland, and an easier, smoother path forward for Finnish companies looking to enter and succeed and invest in the US. And AmCham, we're here to make both of those things happen. So, as sort of my final reflections and words, I want to warmly thank everyone who made this report possible. So, Foreign Minister Elina Valtonen, thank you very much, and to your team at the Ministry for Foreign Affairs, U.S. Ambassador Douglas Hickey and the U.S. Commercial Service team, Nordea's senior analyst Juho Kostiainen and the entire Nordea team who are hosting us here today, and the dedicated leaders who contributed quotes to the report. I think it's no coincidence that RDI came up so much. We actually have a page in the report with key stakeholders in RDI who are contributing their perspective, very short quotes on what's going on. And a warm thank you to Elsa Korpi and Han Nguyen, Han's in the back right over there, for the work you did putting everything together. It is so meaningful. Thank you to Ville Kaunisto, Mikko Nyman, Nina Ekholm-Wenberg, Niklas Lilios, and Seppo Aaltonen, and to everyone who tuned in today. For those of you who are joining us in person, you are a lucky group of people because I know many of you, and you are all amazing contributors. I recommend that you stay and you network and you mingle and you raise a glass with us to fruitful connections and to more transatlantic opportunity. Thank you very much, everyone.